a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan was an Indian philosopher and statesman who was the first Vice President of India and the second President of India from 1962 to 1967. One of India's most distinguished 20th-century scholars of comparative religion and philosophy. His academic appointments included Professor of Philosophy at the University of Mysore, the King George V Chair of Mental and Moral Science at the University of Calcutta and Spalding Professor of Eastern Religion and Ethics at University of Oxford. His philosophy was grounded in Advaita Vedanta, reinterpreting this tradition for a contemporary understanding. He defended Hinduism against uninformed Western criticism, contributing to the formation of contemporary Hindu identity. He has been influential in shaping the understanding of Hinduism in both India and the West, and earned a reputation as a bridge builder between India and the West. Radhakrishnan was awarded several high awards during his life, including a knighthood in 1931, the Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian award in India, in 1954, and honorary membership of the British Royal Order of Merit in 1963. He was also one of the founders of HelpAge India, a non-profit organization for elderly underprivileged in India. Radhakrishnan believed that teachers should be the best minds in the country. Since 1962, his birthday is being celebrated in India as Teachers' Day on the 5th of September. Early life. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan was born in a Telugu-speaking Niyogi Brahmin family, in Tirupati and Madras Presidency. His surname was Sarvepalli, for his forefathers were from Sarvepalli, a village 15 miles from Nellore town of Andhra Pradesh. His grandfather migrated to a village near Tirupati in erstwhile Chittor district of the Madras Presidency. His father's name was Sarvepalli Veeraswamy, and his mother's name was Sarvepalli Sita. His early years were spent in Tirupati and Tirupati. His father was a subordinate revenue official in the service of a local zamindar. His primary education was at KV High School at Tirupati. In 1896 he moved to the Hermannsburg Evangelical Lutheran Mission School in Tirupati and Government Higher Secondary School, Walajapet. Education. Radhakrishnan was awarded scholarships throughout his academic life. He joined Voorhees College in Vellore, but switched to the Madras Christian College at the age of 17. He graduated from there in 1906 with a Voorhees Master's degree in philosophy, being one of its most distinguished alumni. Radhakrishnan studied philosophy by chance rather than choice. Being a financially constrained student, when a cousin who graduated from the same college passed on his philosophy textbooks into Radhakrishnan, it automatically decided his academic course. Radhakrishnan wrote his thesis for the MA degree on the ethics of the Vedanta and its metaphysical presuppositions. It was intended to be a reply to the charge that the Vedanta system had no room for ethics. He was afraid that this MA thesis would offend his philosophy professor, Dr. Alfred George Hogg. Instead, Hogg commended Radhakrishnan on having done most excellent work. Radhakrishnan's thesis was published when he was only 20. According to Radhakrishnan himself, the criticism of Hogg and other Christian teachers of Indian culture disturbed my faith and shook the traditional props on which I leaned. Radhakrishnan himself describes how, as a student, this led him to his critical study of Indian philosophy and religion, and a lifelong defense of Hinduism against uninformed Western criticism. Marriage and family. Radhakrishnan was married to Shiva Kamu, a distant cousin, at the age of 16. As per tradition, the marriage was arranged by the family. The couple had 5 daughters and a son, Sarvepalli Gopal. Sarvepalli Gopal went on to a notable career as a historian. Shiva Kamu died in 1956. They were married for over 51 years. Academic career. In April 1909, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan was appointed to the Department of Philosophy at the Madras Presidency College. Thereafter, in 1918, he was selected as Professor of Philosophy by the University of Mysore, where he taught at its Maharaja's College, Mysore. By that time he had written many articles for journals of repute like the Quest, Journal of Philosophy and the International Journal of Ethics. He also completed his first book, The Philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore. He believed Tagore's philosophy to be the genuine manifestation of the Indian spirit. His second book, The Reign of Religion in Contemporary Philosophy, was published in 1920. In 1921 he was appointed as a professor in philosophy to occupy the King George V Chair of Mental and Moral Science at the University of Calcutta. He represented the University of Calcutta at the Congress of the Universities of the British Empire in June 1926 and the International Congress of Philosophy at Harvard University in September 1926. Another important academic event during this period was the invitation to deliver the Hibbert Lecture on the Ideals of Life, which he delivered at Manchester College, Oxford in 1929, and which was subsequently published in book form as An Idealist View of Life. In 1929 Radhakrishnan was invited to take the post vacated by Principal J. S. Lynn Carpenter at Manchester College. This gave him the opportunity to lecture to the students of the University of Oxford on comparative religion. For his services to education he was knighted by George V in the June 1931 birthday honours, and formally invested with his honour by the Governor-General of India, the Earl of Willingdon, in April 1932. However, he ceased to use the title after Indian independence, preferring instead his academic title of Doctor. He was the Vice-Chancellor of Andhra University from 1931 to 1936. In 1936 Radhakrishnan was named Spalding Professor of Eastern Religions and Ethics at the University of Oxford, and was elected a Fellow of All Souls College. That same year, and again in 1937, he was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature, although this nomination process, as for all laureates, was not public at the time. Further nominations for the award would continue steadily into the 1960s. In 1939 Madan Mohan Malaviya invited him to succeed him as the Vice-Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University. He served as its Vice-Chancellor till January 1948. Political career. Radhakrishnan started his political career rather late in life, after his successful academic career. His international authority preceded his political career. In 1931 he was nominated to the League of Nations Committee for Intellectual Cooperation, whereafter, in Western eyes he was the recognized Hindu authority on Indian ideas, and a persuasive interpreter of the role of Eastern institutions in contemporary society. When India became independent in 1947, Radhakrishnan represented India at UNESCO, and was later Ambassador of India to the Soviet Union, from 1949 to 1952. He was also elected to the Constituent Assembly of India. Radhakrishnan was elected as the first Vice President of India in 1952, and elected as the second President of India. Radhakrishnan did not have a background in the Congress Party, nor was he active in the struggle against British rules. He was the politician in shadow. His motivation lay in his pride of Hindu culture, and the defense of Hinduism against uninformed Western criticism, according to Brown. Teachers' Day. When he became the President of India, some of his students and friends requested him to allow them to celebrate his birthday on the 5th of September. He replied, "Instead of celebrating my birthday, it would be my proud privilege if September 5th is observed as Teachers' Day." His birthday has since been celebrated as Teachers' Day in India. Advaita Vedanta. Radhakrishnan was one of the most prominent spokesmen of Neo-Vedanta. His metaphysics was grounded in Advaita Vedanta, but he reinterpreted Advaita Vedanta for a contemporary understanding. He acknowledged the reality and diversity of the world of experience, which he saw as grounded in and supported by the Absolute or Brahman. Radhakrishnan also reinterpreted Shankara's notion of Maya. According to Radhakrishnan, Maya is not a strict absolute idealism, but a subjective misperception of the world as ultimately real. Intuition and religious experience. Intuition, or anubhava, synonymously called Religious experience has a central place in Radhakrishnan's philosophy as a source of knowledge which is not mediated by conscious thought. His specific interest in experience can be traced back to the works of William James, Francis Herbert Bradley, Henri Bergson, and Friedrich von Hegel, and to Vivekananda, who had a strong influence on Radhakrishnan's thought. According to Radhakrishnan, intuition is of a self-certifying character, self-evidencing, and self-luminous. In his book An Idealist View of Life, he made a powerful case for the importance of intuitive thinking as opposed to purely intellectual forms of thought. According to Radhakrishnan, intuition plays a specific role in all kinds of experience. Radhakrishnan discerns 5 sorts of experience. Classification of religions. For Radhakrishnan, theology and creeds are intellectual formulations and symbols of religious experience or religious intuitions. Radhakrishnan qualified the variety of religions hierarchically according to their apprehension of religious experience, giving Advaita Vedanta the highest place. Radhakrishnan saw Hinduism as a scientific religion based on facts, apprehended via intuition or religious experience. According to Radhakrishnan, if philosophy of religion is to become scientific, it must become empirical and found itself on religious experience. He saw this empiricism exemplified in the Vedas. From his writings collected as The Hindu View of Life, Upton Lectures, delivered at Manchester College, Oxford, 1926, Hinduism insists on our working steadily upwards in improving our knowledge of God. The worshippers of the Absolute are of the highest rank. Second to them are the worshippers of the personal God, then come the worshippers of the incarnations of Rama, Krishna, Buddha. Below them are those who worship deities, ancestors, and sages, and lowest of all are the worshippers of petty forces and spirits. The deities of some men are in water, those of the most advanced are in the heavens, those of the children are in the images of wood and stone, but the sage finds his God in his deeper self. The man of action finds his God in fire, the man of feeling in the heart, and the feeble-minded in the idol, but the strong in spirit find God everywhere. The seers see the supreme in the self, and not the images. To Radhakrishnan, Advaita Vedanta was the best representative of Hinduism, as being grounded in intuition, in contrast to the intellectually mediated interpretations of other religions. He objected against charges of quietism and world denial, instead stressing the need and ethic of social service, giving a modern interpretation of classical terms as Tattvayamarthi. According to Radhakrishnan, Vedanta offers the most direct intuitive experience and inner realization, which makes it the highest form of religion. Radhakrishnan saw other religions, including what Radhakrishnan understands as lower forms of Hinduism, as interpretations of Advaita Vedanta, thereby Hinduising all religions. Although Radhakrishnan was well acquainted with Western culture and philosophy, he was also critical of them. He stated that Western philosophers, despite all claims to objectivity, were influenced by theological influences of their own culture. Controversy on Indian Philosophy book. In the issue of the Modern Review, January 1929, a certain Jadjunath Sinha made a sensational claim that his own thesis was copied by his teacher Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan on Indian Philosophy book. He said that none other than Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan had plagiarized from him. His Indian Philosophy Volume 2 had lifted several passages from Bengali philosopher Jadjunath Sinha's thesis. The controversy spilled over up to February, March and April issues of the magazine too. In August 1929, Sinha sued Radhakrishnan on this issue. Radhakrishnan also countersued both Jadjunath Sinha and the editor of Modern Review, Ramnath Chattopadhyay. Then without any conclusion the court hushed up this sensational issue as Radhakrishnan's stature. Influence. Radhakrishnan was one of India's best and most influential 20th-century scholars of comparative religion and philosophy. Radhakrishnan's defense of the Hindu traditions has been highly influential, both in India and the Western world. In India, Radhakrishnan's ideas contributed to the formation of India as a nation-state. Radhakrishnan's writings contributed to the hegemonic status of Vedanta as the essential worldview of Hinduism. In the Western world, Radhakrishnan's interpretations of the Hindu tradition, and his emphasis on spiritual experience, made Hinduism more readily accessible for a Western audience, and contributed to the influence Hinduism has on modern spirituality. Perennialism. According to Radhakrishnan, there is not only an underlying divine unity, from the seers of the Upanishads up to modern Hindus like Tagore and Gandhi, but also an essential commonality between philosophical and religious traditions from widely disparate cultures. This is also a major theme in the works of René Guénon, The Theosophical Society, and the contemporary popularity of Eastern religions in modern spirituality. Since the 1970s, the perennialist position has been criticized for its essentialism. Social constructionists give an alternative approach to religious experience, in which such experiences are seen as being determined and mediated by cultural determinants. As Michaels notes, Reinhardt also points out that, perennialist claims notwithstanding, modern Hindu thought is a product of history, which has been worked out and expressed in a variety of historical contexts over the preceding 200 years. This is also true for Radhakrishnan, who was educated by missionaries and, like other Neo-Vedantins, used the prevalent Western understanding of India and its culture to present an alternative to the Western critique. Universalism, communalism and Hindu nationalism. According to Richard King, the elevation of Vedanta as the essence of Hinduism, and Advaita Vedanta as the paradigmatic example of the mystical nature of the Hindu religion, by colonial Indologists. But also Neo-Vedantins served well for the Hindu nationalists, who further popularized this notion of Advaita Vedanta as the pinnacle of Indian religions. This opportunity has been criticized. According to Suchat Mazumdar and Vasant K. War, Reinhardt also criticizes the inclusivism of Radhakrishnan's approach, since it provides a theological scheme for subsuming religious difference under the aegis of Vedantic truth. According to Reinhardt, the consequence of this line of reasoning is communalism. The idea that all people belonging to one religion have common economic, social and political interests, and these interests are contrary to the interests of those belonging to another religion. Reinhardt notes that Hindu religiosity plays an important role in the nationalist movement, and that the neo-Hindu discourse is the unintended consequence of the initial moves made by thinkers like Ramahan Roy and Vivekananda. Yet Reinhardt also points out that it is brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Would you like to know more?